Hi everyone, the talk I'm presenting today is Engaging the Comments in Participatory Sensing, Practice, Problem, and Promise in the Context of Dockless Back-Sharing. My name is Yongle Zhang. I'm a first-year PhD student at UMDI School. On this project, I'm working with Dr. Yuling at East China Normal University and Dr. Ge Gao at UMDI School. As we know that people gather, monitor, and analyze the data from our surroundings to better understand and solve problems such as habitat protection, air pollution, or climate change. So here is the question: how do we collect data from the world? So with advances in sensing technology, people can deploy large-scale sensor networks to collect data automatically. Or there are some citizen science projects where public populations are guided by professional scientists or institutions to collect observational data. The third example, which is the topic we focused on in our study, is called the participatory sensing. As the number of cell phone users is rapidly growing, human participants can use the embedded sensors of mobile devices to collect the data. Like the example in Project Budburst, people use cell phone cameras to record the life cycle of nearby plants. With thousands of plants records recorded, it has helped scientists to identify the effects of climate change on plant species around the nation. Compared to the first two approaches, participatory sensing offers several advantages. For example, it does not require the installation of large-scale sensor networks and can save the resources significantly. And it also allows participants to collect and make sense of the data by themselves, which builds a mutually beneficial relationship between scientists and human participants. While participatory sensing is promising, a main challenge is how to effectively maintain the engagement of human participants from three aspects. The first one is quantity. It refers to the amount of data produced by participants. And because our participants are not experts, how to take care of the errors and noises in the data, guarantee the quality is the second aspect. And the last one is how to let participants make long-term contributions, which is persistency. Prior HCI scholars have proposed several designs to address the problem, such as building a reward system or adding gamification elements to the sensing infrastructure. However, these strategies did not work effectively as people expected. For example, some solutions can improve the aspects of quality or quantity, but the effect will only last for a short time period. And these projects mostly tested interventions to the infrastructure, but did not fully discuss the questions on why people do or do not participate in the sensing practice, and what are the participants' actual needs in the participatory sensing. Also, researchers regard the participants as a collective whole against the stakeholders like people who organize the project or local governors. And so we wonder if understanding more about the who and why behind the participatory sensing systems could help us design more powerful interventions in the actual practice. So for our study, we investigated the participatory sensing practice under the context of dockless back-sharing in urban China. Dockless back-sharing refers to the back-sharing service that does not rely on back stations to operate. With a QR code and embedded IoT system, the users can use cell phones to scan code and use the service. So it provides a greater flexibility compared to station-based ones. However, there are also problems with the maintaining process of these bags. For example, it would be very hard to identify and collect broken bags and some of them are placed not appropriately around the city. To better address these issues, bike-sharing programs has developed sensing infrastructures to monitor the bike status. So first of all, the bike locations will be collected when users are checking in and out using their mobile devices. And second one is the GPS modules embedded in the smart locks will also share the location data. Besides, there are also a group of employed maintainers to check the bike conditions regularly in the city. However, due to the large amount of bikes and the complexity of urban environment, it is likely that the bikes cannot be found or checked for conditions through the current sensing infrastructure. So the bike sharing programs started a participatory sensing practice by encouraging users to participate in the maintaining process. And that is, users can use their cell phones to report the bag status when they encountered a problematic bag. People can submit the descriptions and upload relevant pictures through their mobile applications. Later on, this filed reports will be checked for quality condition by the system and distributed to maintainers. So in our study, for the first set of research questions, we want to understand how people participate in failing status reports for shared bags. Specifically stick to who participate in the sensing practice. And we wonder what participant groups emerged in this ongoing sensing practice. And for our second set of research question, we wanted to investigate the why questions to narrow down the gaps in previous literature. What are the motivations for people to participate in sensing practice? And how do people interpret the values and risks of incorporating the incentives into the sensing system? For our method, we recruited participants through digital flyers on the most visited bike-sharing discussion forums in China. And later on, we recruited people through convenience recruiting. We also include 3 maintainers to gain insights about the maintaining process and understand their relationship between normal users. We conducted interviews with participants and asked questions about their experience when using the bike-sharing service and failing status reports. We have 2 researchers to review and code the results independently. For our findings, we generated 4 models of user engagement based on their motivations, concerns, and practice for the bike status reporting activity. We also found users do not always stay within one model and may shift between models over the time. We also identified several incentives from the practice and discussed their effects on user participation. So the first model we identified was the convenient model. A small group of users concerns the inconvenience for failing status reports, and the data produced by this group of people is often lack of details and hard to interpret. And most of our interviewees are under the normative model. People are willing to file high quality reports when they encountered a problematic bug, but they are sometimes confused by the system failures to submit the report, and they do not have effective solutions to solve these technical issues. And the third group is called the proactive model. Proactive users or hunters in our interviewees' vocabulary, they contributed extra time and effort in monitoring the status of shared bags, even they do not have immediate needs for bag usage. as a lot of users in normative models mentioned that the difficulties for solving the technical issues, and then they just stopped reporting the status. Instead, hunters, they explored several ways to resolve the confusions and share their experiences with other hunters on the online forums. Besides, the activities for finding and filing status reports for problematic bags often involved multiple participants who coordinate to check bag conditions in the neighborhood. Many of these participants found the social activities of interacting with other hunters to be enjoyable. They sometimes self-organized into clans and run competitions while hunting together. The last model is called the reflective model. People under this model are advanced bag users who provide meta solutions for proactive users. For example, they developed a mobile application for proactive hunter users to locate problematic bags conveniently in the city. And our study also found that people do not always stay within one model during their entire history of participation. People shifted models as they perceived changes in their connections with back status related data. For example, all the hunters in our interviews started off their sensing practice following the normative model. They later transitioned to the proactive model, which was triggered and reinforced by hands-on experience to make sense of the sensing data. In the other case, although hunting activity get people excited about discovering meanings of the sensing data at the beginning, the exposure to new knowledge naturally decreases as time goes on. A few hunters said they felt less motivated to file reports through the hunting activities after the first year of participation, and they transitioned to the normative users. In our study, we found that people also considered several incentives for their sensing activity. The first tab is monetary incentives. So the bag sharing programs will encourage people who file status reports for broken bags, as well as who read misplaced bags from one recommended location to another. Participants may receive random bonuses in digital red envelopes. However, with our interviews suggests that it did not work very well because the urban commuters value the time sensitivity over the monetary incentives. The second point is people consider altruisms, and the participants file reports just for the benefit of others. However, one important point made by our interviewees is from the current sensing system and some privacy concerns, people can hardly see how one's actions would affect others. And the third one is a reputation system. So users will be assigned with some credit scores and will have points taken off if the bag checked out under their accounts was reported by the next user as being broken or misplaced. A lower number of points will lead to users' limited access to the shared bag service. This system was launched in 2017, but was suspended after a few months because it can be very tricky to conclude who broke the bag or whether the damage was made intentionally. A person might be the last user using a bag, but that bag could also be crashed by someone else after the user have had the bag checked out. So due to these reasons, although there are several incentives, they are not very effective as people expected. And as a discussion, our study suggests there are several participants contributes to the same activity, but they have different motivations and produce the data in different quality, quantity, and with different persistency. So instead of expecting all users to contribute a high quality data, we suggest we should have different groups of people coordinate with each other. For example, we can ask immediate users to file lightweight reports. And then these reports can be verified by non-immediate users, such as the proactive users. And let ask these participants to verify and refine these reports. And our analysis also suggests that people tend to participate in data collection with a higher level of persistency and quality if they get more involved in the sense-making process. So we suggest the back-sharing programs should encourage the current bottom-up practice, such as the hunting activities, which can build social bonds and have a sense of community among participants for long-term participation. The program should also adopt the top-down approach that have experts from government agencies or nonprofit organizations take the initiative to involve the public in making sense of the data. Besides, we suggest programs can also encourage one-time social interactions, such as an exchange of thank you notes between users, to make people aware that the filing status reports can help and benefit others. And to conclude, we conducted a qualitative study to investigate the participatory sensing activities under the context of Dockless back-sharing programs in urban China. We found people in participatory sensing systems vary differently in modes of engagement and incentives, both between users and within users cross time. We also proposed different design implications for Dockless back-sharing programs or similar sensing practice, such as by designing systems to encourage users in different models to all coordinate on the sensing activity, and involving experts to help users to make sense of the data, and encouraging one-time interactions between users for their perception of benefiting others. And here are the references, and thank you all for listening.